This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Good morning and Happy New Year's to you. First, I want to tell you that I am very grateful that I get to be with you on Thursday mornings, and I want to tell you that I'm extremely grateful for the over 9 years I have been with Talk 4 Media and Dean Piper. He's called the Pipe Man, and I always almost say that. I'm also extremely grateful for my wonderful engineer, Juan Garcia. So they make my new year very happy. I hope you had a happy new year. I don't know what you did, but in the early days, of course, we all wanted to go out and party and make noise and dance around and shout and twist and do all of those fun things on New Year's Eve. But as we grew older, we did different things. When we got into our 30s, 40s, and 50s, we often went to fancy balls and raised money for charity on New Year's Eve, or got together with the people that we were hoping to raise money with for our different philanthropic ideas. And we made very good friends with most of them. And now, as we're in our 60s and 70s and onward and above that, a lot of us prefer to stay home. Now, Lou and I, when we got married 27 years ago, we decided we had had enough of going out and braving the roads with the crazy people who continue to drink and drive. We didn't want to get hit by a car. We decided to just sit at home, think about the past, think about the future, make some goals and resolutions, and eat caviar and drink champagne. Those are the best times of all, creating memories with your loved one. And I'm extremely grateful that my loved one is still here with me. And I hope he's grateful he's here to be with me. So I want to talk about one thing before I go on to today's subject of goals and resolutions. I had a message from one of my very dearest friends about Taylor Swift when I talked about her being such a good person to be a person of the year, a good choice. And I still think she was in one regard, what she has done with her career and how she supports some charities. But it was brought to my attention by my friend that all of the charities she seems to be supporting are not so great. And I did a little bit of research, and I don't know everything she does for charity. I was specifically speaking of when she's on tour and what she does in the different cities she goes on tour and how she treats her crew and all. And her success as a woman in a very difficult career path. What I'm talking about now, and I'm so grateful that AG told me what she was thinking and what she had found out. And I did some investigating, and I investigated a little bit of the charity that she and Selena Gomez went to support. They were not the only young Hollywood people. I want to believe that they don't do any research, that somebody asked them to go to some benefit or gala or parade or protest or something because they think they're doing good. But I think in the back of the heads, they're thinking about the publicity they're getting. Of course, they go with bodyguards and all, so they know they'll be safe, not like the common person going to these. The charity she went to support with Selena is a pro-Palestinian group, and they said that they were raising money for the people who have lost everything in the Gaza. Now that's true, but the Israelis lost a lot of people, not only property. The Gaza is made up mainly of Palestinians, and over those Palestinians is the group Hamas, as Hezbollah has been. So I don't think these people are checking out what they're doing. I don't think this money is going straight to people who lost their homes or their food. I wish that these celebrities would think about that before they get their names out there. Now, they've both gotten, Selena and Taylor have both gotten some very bad press. So maybe this will open their eyes and they will check into it and they will switch their beliefs. And yes, if you think I'm supporting the Israelis, you're absolutely correct. And we need to support them in more than one way. We need to help Israel with funds and weapons and our support and our prayers in our heart. Okay, people, let's talk about our goals and resolutions today. By the way, if you have anything you want me to check into, please also message me or find me. And the best way to do it is on my personal page on Facebook. Do your research and you can find my page. So, what is the difference between goals and resolutions? And why should you do one rather than the other? Well, I think you know that resolutions have been talked about for years and years and years about how you should make a list of your resolutions. What I want to ask you is, out of these 1 resolution, 5 resolutions, 10, how many have you followed through with? I've never followed through with one. I do better giving up something for Lent than I do trying to do a resolution list and following through with it. And I think it's because goals are entirely different. So I make a list of goals for the year that I would like to accomplish. And a resolution tends to be more of just a sentence of, I've been eating too much ice cream during my stress out periods when I'm trying to get too many things done, and I'm going to give up ice cream. Well, you know what? I'm never giving up ice cream. So why do I write it down? That's crazy. A better thing for me to do so that I can get rid of my probably 10 pounds I gained over COVID and being locked up would be to say, no more resolutions. I'm going to make it a goal to lose 10 pounds over the next year. Maybe you want to lose more. Maybe you want to lose less. Maybe you want to be healthy. But you can't get there by just putting down a resolution and saying, I resolve to do this. One, you should know that. I told you I resolved to get my titles of the following week's shows on time, and you know I didn't do it. So that's what happens when you write down resolutions. You can't live up to them. So I'm going to make it my goal to be a better person and a better caring person to Juan and get my titles into him on a better schedule, one that he can adhere to and one that I can adhere to. I'll make it a goal, Juan, and I'll get it done. Okay, so that's why I think that it is far better to make goals. And I know that you can probably think of a lot of goals that you want to make. they're almost interchangeable in a dictionary, goal and resolution. But to me, they're not exactly the same. And that's why I think that it is far better to make a list. I know I'm making noise on here. I just think it's far better to make a list of goals. And I think if you check it out with most life coaches and all, you'll find out that they all agree. Today, I want to talk about some of the goals that we have. A lot of goals are set because you want to find a solution to a problem. Now, a resolution can be made the same way, like I was talking about weight. I resolved to lose 10 pounds over the next year. But a goal is more directed and fine tunes what you want to do. I like to say that a goal is more of a roadmap to what you want to accomplish. You know, a lot of life coaches tell you to do a vision board. I myself don't like to do vision boards, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. A vision board is something that you create. You sit down and you say what your goals are and what you would like to accomplish. And it can be anything from taking that trip to Europe to starting a new company and how you're going to get there. Maybe you want to buy a house and you need to make so much money for the down payment. You're just this close to it, but in the next year you want to make that down payment grow because houses are more expensive this year. You need to do your research to reach that goal of how much money you need to make a down payment on your house. It's your vision of how you're going to reach your goals. That's what a vision board is. So if you want to buy a house, perhaps you want to cut pictures out of a magazine and glue them on this poster board. Get a poster board from the local supply store, office supply store of any size. You can get the regular poster size that you see pinned up in all kinds of schools and things like that. Or you can get a smaller one that's the size of a computer or something. And what you want to do is glue things on there that will help you improve your chance of meeting your goals for your vision. So you might cut out pictures of houses. You might cut out pictures of different cities that you love, that you would like to live in, or the area around them. Maybe you want to move to the woods. Maybe you want to move close to skiing. So you would put those kinds of pictures on your vision board. Maybe you want to see how you would live the rest of your life if you lost 10 pounds. So maybe you want to put something on there about a refrigerator with a big slash across it. That's what a vision board is. And this is what goals are. You set these goals, you make a list, and you say what you want to do. All right, so I just said I've been with Dean in his studios for 9 years, but I've actually been podcasting for 10. And on my first podcast, it was in Hollywood and they were very wonderful people, but I wanted to expand the platforms that I was on so more people could reach me. So, as I said, I don't do vision boards, but I write goals. And my goal was to find somebody that would help me get on iHeart, number one, and some other platforms also where people could find me. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all these different podcast platforms that we have been on. Some we've eliminated because, quite frankly, they didn't have any traffic and they eliminated themselves. So everything has a season, so to speak. So I started asking around to several different people, and lo and behold, in a group that I belong to, a women's professional group, everybody in there had a different profession. There was everybody from bankers to realtors to life coaches, to people who were into feng shui. And there was one woman that was a financial expert. And I thought, okay, well, I haven't been in business for 20 years after I sold my magazine. Maybe I should go see what's happening in her financial class about businesses. So I did, and I met a fellow student, and she decided that she wanted to podcast. And she had found Dean Piper, Talk4 Media, K4HD.com, which has expanded into all sorts of channels. There's one on cancer, there's one on religion, there's me with my kind of a potpourri of different things making you healthy, wealthy, and wise. There's men on there. I have men that watch my podcast, and granted, they are people I knew in business before or knew in school. And I'm grateful for them, even though it says I talk only to women. I try not to. I try to include men on some of the subjects I talk about. So that was my goal. And in this class, I said I wanted to find this studio. And guess what? This woman I met introduced me to Dean, and I've been with him ever since. So I'm grateful for things like that. But if I hadn't put it down as a goal and made a path that I would be asking different people, how can I get on iHeart? How can I do this? How can I do that? Let me tell you, you can't just send a podcast unless you're a famous person to iHeart and get on iHeart. You need somebody who has a studio that knows how to deal with all these people. So I've been gracious for that. But this is what you do when you have a goal. You just don't say, okay, I'm going to be on iHeart, because it doesn't work like that. But you can do this for anything in your life. If you want to become a master chef, but you only want to become a master chef for your family or your friends, you still can go to one of the big cooking schools and get your credentials and come home and fix these fabulous family dinners. You can make a set of goals for anything. I think the number one thing with people growing older, I should say two things. One is your health and how you can live longer because you do enjoy life and you want to be with your family. And the other one is loneliness if you don't have people around that you've known in your life before, or you're shy about making friends and don't know how to. If you've had to move locations, or you wanted to move locations because of what's going on in our country, there's a good way to do it, to make friends and figure out what you're going to do with your life. There is a good path for health. Now, I'm not telling you how to cure cancer. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you what the secret cure is for cancer. I wish our physicians and Big Pharma would find a cure for cancer, because I don't feel in my heart that they are doing enough. They're more concerned with making money off of the drugs that they're selling and what they're doing. Now, I'm not trying to bash all doctors and all medications, because many of them are very necessary, and you need to consult your personal physicians and scientists and research and friends and everybody else to combat some of these diseases that have come up throughout our generation and all that are taking people's lives. So I want you to consult a professional before you take any of my advice. And I do tend to lean towards the natural health, the alternative health practices. None of them are kooky, but I combine it with allopathic medicine. And that's what I think you should do. So I digress, because I'm talking about goals. You know, a goal is bigger, as you can tell from what I've been telling you. It's bigger than a resolution. A resolution, I don't know anybody who has ever, and I am not kidding you, in my long life, I have never, ever heard anybody tell me that they put on their piece of paper before the stroke of midnight that in 2024, I resolve to eat more fish. I resolve to never eat ice cream. And they have not come back to me and said, oh, I resolve. Well, of course, today's only the 4th of January, but I'm talking down the line here in September. I've never heard one person tell me that they have fulfilled their resolution. Go ahead and make a list of resolutions if you'd like. But if you listen to the morning talk shows, as I always do before I do a show, to see if there's any breaking news, and today there was very sad breaking news. But I've never heard them ever say to their co-host, well, what was your resolution and have you kept it already? And they all go, no, I don't do them anymore. Or no, I don't fulfill them. I don't make the list, and I know I'll never fulfill it because I never have. There's only one person I heard that said that last year she resolved to read more of the scriptures in the Christian religion. And she said she had kept it and she intends to keep it and that it is helping her greatly. So I commend her on keeping her resolution and searching for the answer. And I thought that was really wonderful that she shared it with everyone. But all of the rest said no, they didn't have any resolutions. So there you go. Now, I think that everybody has good intentions. And I think that we should set some goals. So my goal is to get in better shape. Over the past 2 years, I have neglected myself. And that was part of the reason I gained 10 pounds over COVID, being locked up and eating trash. I love my M&Ms. I love chocolate chips and beer together, not mixed together at the same time. I'm a sweet freak, and that's not good. I am fortunate that I've never become diabetic because I eat so much sugar, and I know it's bad. It became even a worse habit when I lost my son 2 years ago. I couldn't get out of bed for some days. I was in such grief. So I wouldn't drink the beer, but I would lie there and watch television, trying to get my mind off of it. Of course, I talked to my husband. Of course, I cooked for him, and he was very supportive with me. And so was my daughter, and it was a very difficult time for me. But I had that bowl of M&Ms there, or the bowl of chocolate chips, and every night I would make my husband eat ice cream with me. Yeah, I made him eat ice cream because I didn't want to always be stuffing my mouth with ice cream after dinner without a companion. Now, that didn't help him any, and it didn't help me, and it sure as heck did not help my grief. All I did when I woke up one day is said, oh, look at that bloated stomach. This is really bad. And would Matthew want me doing that? No, he wouldn't. My problem was grief, and I didn't make any goals. Now, believe me, I'm still grieving and I'm still having a difficult time. But we all run into problems in our life that we just can't see some way out. Maybe it's a financial problem. Maybe now you've reached your 60s, the retirement age, and you suddenly lost your spouse, and you find out that all the money has gone for medical bills or to investments that didn't work out. It could be anything. Maybe you've been helping your children as adults. Maybe you've bought wardrobes full of clothes. Oh, my bad habit is shoes. Okay, I'm confessing a lot of things here, but we all have ways that we spend our money. And today I was wondering if maybe that shouldn't be something that we discuss, because my wise part likes to have people on who tell you about investments, not to suggest that you invest that way, but they explain how they work. And the other one is health. I need to have more people on to tell you about health, because too many of my friends have decided because they reach 65, they don't need to do anything to stay healthy and they can eat whatever they want because they've earned the right, because they live so long. But let me tell you, you're not going to live any longer if you don't pay attention to this. But you want to have a good time as you're aging. That's the most important thing. No one wants to keep living older and older if they have no friends, if they have no money, if they have an illness that really could be combated by moving around a little bit. So I want to tell you some of those things also in following shows. But right now, I want to talk about how you make friends and why you would move. I've talked about why you would move before. Maybe it's because of crime. I'm going to tell you a story. We decided we would move to the desert because the crime in the Los Angeles basin was increasing. It wasn't just in downtown Los Angeles anymore. It had gone to the outlying cities. It had gone to the beach towns. It had gone to spread out and gone to even places like Beverly Hills, where women would be standing in line to go into a Neiman Marcus. Now, they have the right to go shop in Neiman Marcus. I used to shop there. Other people have shopped there forever. But now suddenly it came to the point where people were raiding Neiman Marcus, as you see in the drugstores on television and things like that. And people were forcing their way in and they were stealing goods, damaging property. People were afraid for their lives. So now they kept the doors locked and women would have to line up to go in there. Quite frankly, you just stop going and then the store goes out of business, or you go shop somewhere else. But every store has been hit by this. Drugstores, clothing stores, sporting goods stores, you name it. It's been hit by crime, and it's rampant in California. And I mean rampant. They have followed people home to Beverly Hills. I used to live in Beverly Hills. Then we moved to the northern part of the valley, to Westlake, Calabasas, and Westlake and Oak Park, in that area. Until last year, the crime followed us. There were more house break-ins. There were more purse grabbings at the little strip centers. TJ Maxx, you know, ladies, you should be a fan of TJ Maxx. Their store was broken into. The windows on the street, on the parking lot, were broken into, and they grabbed things. And that was during the day. The local tobacco shop was broken into 3 times, and that's in a strip center. And in the same strip center, a little old lady, my age, was getting out of her car to go into a CVS, and they attacked her to rip her bag out of her hand, her purse. And she didn't know what to do. She started yelling and screaming and trying to fight them off. Well, thank goodness there was a sheriff coming in to patrol that very lot. And he saved her purse, and saved her car. And those people were arrested. That was less than a mile from our apartment. Yeah, we've rented a lot of apartments because I've had friends who've moved to different places and suddenly they felt they didn't like them. Now, this was a few years ago. Oh, we want to downsize. We want to move to this place, that. But they were not pleased because they didn't have friends there. They were unfamiliar with the area. They were unfamiliar with the politics. They were unfamiliar with the climate. They just saw some ad where some beautiful condo or some beautiful house was listed and it was affordable, and they moved. And lo and behold, they weren't happy. So what we did is we set a goal. We decided, yes, we had to get out of there because, first of all, my son had taken his life. We didn't want to be reminded of that in that area. Although you don't forget it, it's not something you can shut out of your brain. And we liked the climate, but we didn't really have any friends. Actually, I had more friends because I joined a women's business group and I made a lot of friends through that. So I was fortunate doing that. But then we really wanted, particularly since my son was gone, we wanted to move up towards my daughter. Now, they do very well for themselves. My son-in-law is an electrical contractor from Argentina. He is a citizen of the United States the legal way, and he does quite well. There's lots of building, and he has wonderful contracts with the city and different big jobs. And my daughter is a registered nurse who is now getting her master's in nursing education. So that's a little bit about my family. We're a family of entrepreneurs. My son had his own business in the entertainment industry. And I think his son would like to follow in his footsteps. So we like creating businesses. My husband, on the other hand, is a corporate guy. And he was with one company for well over 20 years, nearly 30 years. And when he retired, he went into consulting. But as we grew older, he just sat on some boards, and it was time to change that for him. He wanted to move on and do something different. So we decided we would move, and we started looking around the Santa Barbara area where my daughter lives. And they had just bought a new townhouse in Goleta. They have two small children, 5 and 9. But when I went to look at these beautiful apartments that we thought we might move into, we hadn't considered buying a house at the time because we're older. We want all the conveniences that come with renting an apartment or living in a condo or something. I don't want to be managing people anymore. I've done that and I'm happy. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and it's totally different than anything I've ever done before. So that's challenging. The prices of a 1-bedroom apartment in Goleta to rent every month is over $3,000. Now, Goleta is a university town, and there's lots of kids. So many times they put 4 or 5 people in these apartments. Well, these were upper echelon apartments, but it was $3,500 for a 1-bedroom. Now, there's 2 things. Number one, there's no rent control in most of these areas, so it can keep going up 10% or more. Some places there's no ceiling cap. And the other one was I had college age kids. I don't want to have them right next door to me, living with me with 5 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. So that was out of the question. Now, all through my life when I was growing up, I had a grand uncle who had a house in Palm Springs. So I grew up coming to Palm Springs throughout my childhood. And then I started talking to my friends, and a lot of them had bought condos down here because they loved to get away during the winter from the East Coast or the Midwest. And I have friends all over the country because we've lived all over the country, but also from California. That was the place where Hollywood went and the socialites went and everything. So I know some people down here, and I thought, oh, what the heck? What is going on down here? I hadn't been for several years. And knew the area. So we came down here and we looked and we looked, and I couldn't believe it. It was still affordable for the normal person. And the only drawback is the Native Americans, the Indians, own so much of the property here that they are the ones that lease the land to the people who build on a lot of them. A lot of the lands that have condominiums and golf courses and beautiful things are on Indian land. So if you're coming to someplace like that, this is what I mean. If you don't know about these things that should be divulged by your realtor or the person showing you a condo or a rental, a piece of property that you think you can live in for the rest of your life, you better ask questions. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida didn't have some of that, because that was a place where there were a lot of Native Americans, because being close to the ocean and the fishing and the things like that. So we looked, and I happen to have an excellent realtor who happens to be one of my very best friends. And we looked and we found a great condominium in a secure property. And here we are, and we are loving it, except for not being able to finish our little projects that needed doing, but we are loving it. Now, why I'm telling you this story is because a lot of you ask me where we live. Well, this is where we're living now, and I anticipate being here for many years. And I have to say, we were very careful. We're not on Indian land. And it's a nice place for my daughter and her family to come and visit, see the grandkids and all. There's a lot to do down here. So we're happy making this move. Now, just the other day, I'd been very quiet. I hadn't actually told anybody we had moved down here because I wanted to become settled in a lot of things before I started entertaining or going to be entertained. So on New Year's Day, my friends had found me, and I knew they would because some of them watched the show, and I've said that I have moved to the desert, or they follow me on Facebook. That's where you find older people of our age, is on Facebook, not on TikTok, which is owned by the Chinese, not on Snapchat, not on some of these other things. I don't even know what they are. You'll find people our age and a little younger on Facebook. And you might not have spoken to them for years, but all of a sudden you're communicating with each other all the time. And all those people can help you live a nice life, because now you have friends. And they'll tell you about these different areas where they live. And wouldn't it be great to find somebody in the area that you want to move to that you would know? But there are other ways to make friends when you make this big move. And I just want to talk about that for 1 second here. It's an interesting world we have out there. And one of the most important decisions of the American people is in jeopardy. We have the right to vote. We've been working on the right to vote for people of color and women and all sorts of reasons why we have opened up voting to every man and woman over the age. I'm not even sure. I think it's 18. I'm almost positive it's 18, but I'll double check that. I sound like I'm really ignorant, but I'm not. I just get confused sometimes. So what is happening is a lot of people have been being tried and condemned since January 6th because they hate who the other president was before President Biden. They hate former President Trump. And with that hate has come some horrible things. They are trying to destroy a citizen of the United States with frivolous lawsuits. Some of them, they think they have a lot of evidence against them. There have been riots over it. There are trials over it. Some of the states, including Colorado and Maine, were the first two. And Maine took his name off the ballot by a Secretary of State who doesn't have a law degree or held any power of position that would give her the knowledge to remove former President Trump's name from the Maine ballot. There have been calls of early voting. There are calls of mail-in ballots. There are calls for duplicate ballots. I don't know. This is getting to be so bad. First of all, you're taking away the rights of one single man, but you're now taking away the rights if he doesn't appear on the ballots for the primaries or the national election. I don't know if they'll try to do this to him too. They're taking away your right to vote. They're not really doing this harm for President Trump. They're doing it to you, to take away your rights, to take away your legal rights to talk, freedom of speech. This is an absolutely horrible thing. So as you're trying to get to be wise and healthy and happy, I want you, as I always say, to watch both sides of the argument. This is the most important election of our lives. This is the most important time before the election of our lives. First of all, if you're not registered to vote, go register to vote. Be aware that in some states where you're voting for the primary, that if you vote independent, you can't vote in the primary. You must be registered for one of the two top political parties, or the three or whatever. But you cannot vote in the Republican or Democrat Party. So look up the laws, become more familiar with them than I am, and that will be one of the things I'm checking on. So back to your move and what your goals are after you move, or while you move, or while you're thinking of moving. One of them is, how am I going to make friends? So I think I've told you before, one of the best things to make your happy life is to help others and to be grateful for things. And there are many charities in all of these different areas, everything from helping them gather clothing, to feeding the hungry, to helping children, be a mentor to them to help them with their studies, supporting the local PTA and their athletic teams in high school. There's many, many things you can do, but you can also join political groups like Democratic Women, whatever their group is called. I don't know, because I'm a member of the Republican women's groups. And I'm proud to say that. So I know you would be proud to say that also if you joined one of these groups. Become involved in your country. Your country has given you many, many blessings. Don't forget the blessings that your country has given you during this time of turmoil. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to listen to the news every single day. And maybe you want to listen to it before you make your goals. Your goals should also include being wise about everything that's going on in the country, and perhaps starting a discussion group about it, like a town hall or a coffee clutch. You can join different exercise groups in some of these places that you might move to. You know, there's an abundance of over 55 living areas these days, and they have all sorts of wonderful programs that you can join and meet people of your same age and older, and they're mostly beautiful. And now they have such wonderful retirement homes for people that need a little assistance. Some of them have both. Some of them have villas where you can move in and have your own privacy and they keep them to a limited number of under 12. But they also have the facilities when you need more assisted care, and you can have an apartment in there, and you have medical staff on the ground, and you meet wonderful people, and you have people to talk to at dinner, and you have a cocktail hour, and you might have a movie night so you can all eat popcorn together. Don't push those away from you. There are many beautiful ones, and they're very nice, wonderful. Now, before I leave you, I'm going to give you one health tip. A lot of you seem to be suffering from arthritis, and it suddenly comes on. Yeah, I don't know why I'm putting these on. This is something you can do. I have started to get a little arthritis in my hands. I don't know why, but I'll tell you next week when I do a show on health why I think. If you're starting to get arthritis in your hands or your other joints, this is for your hands only. And I don't know how many doctors will tell you this, but my dermatologist told me. My hands are getting a little stiff. And I think maybe it's because I use the computer, the laptop, so much. There are these stars that you can buy on Amazon. You can put your fingers around them like this. Whoops, I can never find my camera. And you can squeeze them like this. Okay? That helps you. I squeeze them like 12 times, then I rest, then I squeeze them some more. And they have these little balls, these exercise balls on Amazon also. And you can put them in your hand and you can squeeze them like that. If you're on the computer a lot, writing your friends, telling jokes, I have a wonderful friend who sends jokes to all of us all the time, and they're funny, they're not dirty. Well, once in a while she slips one in, but they're funny. And this is how she amuses herself, and she amuses all of us. Okay, you could also just do the exercises with your hands this way, but I suggest you get one of those other things, the balls. Mine are here. I rub them and stretch them every day. I don't have arthritis anywhere else. Thankfully, I can walk. I don't have knee problems, hip problems, anything like that. But that's because I think I've always been pretty active. And I still wear my 4 or 5-inch heels. I put away the 6-inch. So if you want a pair, notify me. And the other thing I wanted to tell you was, if you're missing some money, if you're not getting the return for your investments that you thought you would be, or if you had to spend them all for medical problems or helping your kids, if you have adult kids, try to get them on their own. It's a really tough time out there. Some of them can't afford to buy houses. Listen, I've helped my kids throughout the years. I'm not now because they both have, my daughter and son-in-law both have wonderful professions, but I have helped them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now, you may have dipped into the money that you thought you would have for retirement. So there's 2 things I learned today by watching the morning news and reading some of the morning newspapers. One, a policeman was working 80 hours a week, and of course he wasn't making much money. We unfortunately don't pay some of our civil servants, particularly the ones in the security area. He wasn't making a lot of money until he was then forced into 40 hours of overtime every month. So that's 80 hours a week. Sorry. That's 80 hours a week. When the heck do you rest? Are you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and you know what you're doing on your job? Well, he couldn't take it anymore. And somebody told him about this, and he said, that can't be true. But he went and he explored it, and he bought an ATM machine. At the time he did it, it was $6,000. And for him, that was a tremendous investment. Well, he was on a news show this morning, and he said the return on his investment has been so huge, he quit his job as a policeman or sheriff or whatever he was. And he does this, plus he has gotten into digital marketing. Digital marketing, if you look at the right things, is perfectly legitimate and safe. And the digital marketing, you usually do not have to invest in any money. So I've told you these side hustles before, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a little extra pin money, that's the extra money that you can take and go with the girls on a trip to the local spa or something. But if you work it hard, you can also make a lot of money. Now, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about books, rare books and not rare books, but ancient books, old books. And they are looking for more. And some people have sold them in the upper 100 or 6 figures, and some even in the 7 figures. So because we're older, that may be your next big money earning thing. And wouldn't that be fun to be the one to take all your girlfriends on the cruise? So that's it for me today. I thank you for joining me. I want you to have a happy, safe new year in 2024. But I want you to think about being healthy, wealthy, and wise. Don't forget, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you.